The next thing that we're going to do is go to settings. And now we can set up our yard that you're working in all the time. Okay, default category, which I suggest, if you're working with pipe, I suggest that you just use pipe because that just kind of encompasses everything. We also have a few options down here. Now, the one that I highly suggest that you take advantage of is window display mode. If you have multiple monitors and you like to drag and drop windows around while you work, this really comes in handy. Otherwise, our system is going to create new tabs, and it's going to look kind of like a spreadsheet with a bunch of tabs at the top. Windowed allows me, with 3 monitors, to drag stuff all over the place so I can work in all different areas without having to open and close different windows or search for tabs. Okay. So once you get your default yard set up and your default category, set your time zone, okay, and unit price decimals. Okay. The next thing that we're going to do is go to our email. Now, if it's not already set up, all you got to do is click Enable Email. If you're using Outlook, just choose it as an option and put your email address in. Now, I highly suggest that you show the messages before sending. That way you can customize the email, put any additional attachments with it, or even add or delete. There you go. Or even add or delete email addresses. Okay? Now, if you're using something like Yahoo or Google or something like that, you're going to want to choose the SMTP, and in which case there is an article in our support site under Help about how to set that up. It's pretty simple and straightforward, but it's going to take a few minutes, and I don't want to break the flow of this webinar. So just know that if you've got Yahoo or something like that, go to our support site and click on Getting Started, setting up email. Most everybody uses Outlook though. Okay. The next thing that we're going to do is talk about checkpoints. And it's under Settings, Job Checkpoints. This is a very critical piece of this system. And really what a checkpoint is a basic workflow process, or it tells you what the status of your inventory is. So obviously we've got some basic settings, and you can see right here, exceptions are: you cannot delete received, shipped, working, and storage. Okay? Anything else can be deleted and you can add. I'm going to sort by the list order. What this means is this is the first thing in the checkpoint drop down. On order is number 1 in the drop down. If you notice over here to the left, we have some different options. Okay? The first one you're going to want to notice is show in list. Well, obviously on order is going to show in list, but I have the option checked to not show it as inventory. Okay? So obviously if I create a purchase order, it's on order, it's shown in the list, but it's not in inventory yet. Okay? The next one is received. So whenever I bring any inventory into my yard, it's going to create it in a received status. It's shown in the list. It is inventory. Storage obviously is in inventory. And if you go down to, let's say, shipped, here's the shipped. Notice it's in the list, but it's not in inventory, right? So you can checkpoint a job or inventory to ship, and it basically, even though it'll show up in the list, it won't be included in your inventory totals, if that makes sense. Okay, now you can add another one. So in my system, I might want to put in, let me see if hard banding's already in here. Yeah. Hard banding. Okay, and in a hard banding situation, I want to show that that inventory is in the list, but it's showing up, but it's actually not an inventory because anything in hard banding is actually at a vendor location. Does that make sense? This pipe is at NOV. Okay? Or even better yet, vendor. All right. Does anybody have any questions? So keep in mind, whenever you create checkpoints and you use them, you're not going to want to delete that checkpoint later. Oops. I'm going to make that 2. So it shows up in the list there. You're not going to want to delete them later because any inventory assigned to that checkpoint will disappear basically. So remember that whenever you're setting these up, think hard about it. You can add more, and you can even change the name here, but you're not going to want to delete them. Does that make sense? Okay. And if anybody has any questions, you can just chat right now. Okay. So there's some great options here. The next thing that we're going to look at is pipe properties. Now, clearly, you know, we manage pipe the very best. So this is why, because we track pipe the way it should be. Under the category of pipe, we can look at all the different specifications. So the first one that we're going to look at is obviously size. These are all preloaded in your system when you get it. Now, I'm not going to deal with anything smaller than, I'm going to deal with primarily tubing, okay? So I'm really going to primarily work with 2 3/8 and 2 7/8. Occasionally I might have some 5.5 inch, just for whatever reason. And so I can delete all the rest, or I can add, I had some odd stuff come in the other day, some 6 5/8, okay? So we can add those as well. Oops, there it is. You can change it on the fly if you want to. There we go. Now we can go down the list and look at size, weight. And weight's very important because in our system, it will, if you create your part numbers right and you add a weight, it will calculate the load weight by pounds, tons, hundredweight, okay? So you're going to want to delete anything that you're not using, right? And add anything that you need, again, okay? And just keep going down the list. Couplings and finish. Reject rent, vent. Oops. I'm having problems with my keyboard all day. Pitted, or all right, so we're just going to keep doing that until we're complete. It also has range. Okay, and that really concludes this setup